Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on October 3rd, 2021 at approximately 8:43 p.m. PST. Yesterday I started off a assessment and realized when I got through and got to the end of it that I was going to require more time. So today is part two. Okay. And literally what I'm doing at this point is simply acknowledging the people that had a direct impact on getting me to where I am at this point. Now, as I said, there have been a lot of people over the years. Most of them I will not mention by name. Okay, many of them, some of them I will, but the ones I will mention by name are the ones that have already made themselves very public. Okay, other than that, I will refer to people, and you've already seen this with yesterday. I'm simply referring people to what they did. They know who they are, so you don't require it. Okay. Now, that said, the reason for that actually is in deference to the people that have helped me, as well as when people such as yourself contact me for some sort of insight. Okay. Do I refer to what has been asked? Certainly. Do I give people's names? No. Okay, and I just refuse to. Because that is not my, technically it's a right, but it's not the right thing to do. Okay, if people decide to come out and talk about the fact that they've had their hand in helping me, that's their issue, not mine. Okay, and I certainly won't deny when people have legitimately helped me. Okay, that said, however, let's go back a little. When I started doing when I started recording the journey, it was really at the request of a lot of other people. But the actual journey started out explaining what I was doing in order to get my life working in the right direction. And as you can tell by looking at the walls and the shelves behind me, I haven't got everything moved around the way I desire it at this point. But at least I feel a lot better about it. Now today was a little rough, which is why I'm here so late. Okay. But when I started out, it was showing people what I had done. Then I turned to the idea of going, okay, let's take a look at the bigger picture and see what you can do. Aside from using the tools that I personally implement, what can you do to help really put this world in a better standpoint? Okay, because changing this world is not going to be done by one individual. One person doesn't change the world, but one person can start things changing. Kind of like one match won't start a forest fire, but it certainly gets it started. But it will certainly encourage it. Okay, the fact is, or maybe I should put it this way: one match will not burn a forest down, but it will start. It certainly start the process. Okay, now I went from guiding people on that end to something that shifted gears a little. And we started talking about the way that energy works, that energy itself takes place. Okay. And like I've said, and before I go any further, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to our channel so that you can get the rest of the information coming out. And remember, when you subscribe, hit that alert button to let you know when the next video comes out. Okay, because I've got a major goal here, and that is to take this message to the entire world, not just the people that are on the computer, not just to one given political group or one given skin color. Okay, to everybody. And that is going to require your assistance, which is what I'm asking you for. Okay, I watch YouTube video games. Like, there are many very, very talented, very entertaining vloggers. Okay, or vloggers. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but that said, what has never made a lot of sense, I know from my standpoint, I'm not what I consider the most exciting person on video. Okay. And I'm certainly not expecting any kind of a turnout the way that many of these gaming vloggers get. You know, where they've got where people where literally hundreds of thousands of people will stand there or will sit there and watch somebody else play a game. Okay, I guess in a way it's like watching a movie. But as things went on, I came to understand a few things. First and foremost, a lot of the reason society is the way it is because nobody has been shown a different way. Even with people that claim they're spiritual guides. More often than not, I find people, they'll say, do this, and they go about and do something completely different. In my personal case, when I tell you this is the method I use, I'm not telling you do this to change your life. I'm telling you I did this or am doing this to change my life. If you're not content with yours, see what happens if you give it a shot. Again, I look at it going, if I'm going to offer you a tool, number one, if it applies to my life, I'm using it. Number two, I'm not about to sit here and go, at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a piece of information that's totally free, doesn't cost a thing, and then lead you on through a great big long soliloquy of how special this information is, and at the end of it go, give me money and I'll send you the information. No. The way I look at it, if I'm going to say I'm going to give it to you for free, free means there is no cost, there is no obligation, which is why I follow only 3 laws. Okay, now they're pretty big laws. The 3 karmic laws are be true to yourself first, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you, and energy out, energy in. Okay, if you take a look at any guidelines that you're following, compare them to those 3, and I do believe what you'll find is they all fit inside them. Okay, now let's get back on track, shall we? We should really keep these handy, much as my eyes are better than they were. Considering the fact that, well, I ended up getting done with my hobby, aka playing Dungeons and Dragons, or in this case, I was playing Starfinder, which is the modern version of Dungeons and Dragons in outer space. Okay, I ended up taking a nap and wiping out half my night, which is why I'm here a little late. Considering we finished about 7, it is now what? 10 to 9. So, obviously, I grabbed a little bit of a nap. Well, actually, it's not that obvious. But it is the way it is. I'm going to spill something that's just not going to make me happy. Anyway, that being said, okay, this is a live video, as you well know. Okay, and being a live video, what that means is when I get done, I go to the end of it, and then I double check the date and the time. If they're correct, I take it and post it right away, as is, no editing. You get all the hiccups, all the quirks, the whole 9 yards. Well, I got through the idea of this is the way energy works. And of course, I've mentioned that I remember my past lives, which brings me to this other individual. Okay, now I have mentioned to you. Okay, I've mentioned before that I was baptized Roman Catholic, raised Protestant, became agnostic, and then turned around and became minister. But the thing that threw me for a loop, okay, is one individual, okay, one very specific individual. And because I have not had their direct permission, and I don't feel like opening up a critical door, okay, I returned to pass one message on to people. And that is that working together, we can make this a better world for everyone. Okay, now here's the funny part about it. Okay, this one individual, I don't bother telling people, like, number one, most of the time, I do not remember my name from past lives. Okay, once in a blue moon, somebody will bring it up, and it will click. The name will click. It will click. Okay, but this one individual, okay, and the best I'm going to tell you, okay, is she the one person that I ran into. Okay, well, I guess one was somebody. The first time I went to a UFO conference. Okay, as you can well imagine, when you go and talk to people about UFOs, about alien encounters, and all of that, if you're going to a conference, you can bet your bottom dollar the topic of Roswell will come up. So while I'm at this conference, I got talking to the people that were there, and when I started laying things out, this one individual turned around and they looked at us and went, "How did you remember that? And how did you know that?" I looked at them and went, "What do you mean?" They went, "My grandfather was was on site during during the crash, like during cleanup. And my grandfather says relayed the entire layout, but it was never published." And so they go, they went, "Well, how did you get all that information on the layout? The layout is right, but it was never published." And I looked at her and went, "Well, because I remember it." And they turned around, they said, "Well, you're too young to have been there." I says, "I know that, but it doesn't change the fact that I remember it." They turned around and identified and confirmed what I had seen and what I could remember about that whole crash site, about the beings that were on it, and about what happened to them. Okay. But the one that threw me for the biggest loop, that started me down the road of talking about UFOs, of talking about the alien encounters and what have you. But the one that threw me for one heck of a loop was a young individual that I met a number of years ago that remembered me from a very, very specific time frame, a very specific sequence of events. Now, we are talking about remembering past lives. Now, told me, they started to tell me about a dream they had had. Okay, about a dream they had dealt with. And I will get to that in a second. Okay. What did that do? Anyway, they told me about a dream that they had had, and they said, they said flat out they had never told anybody about this dream. Their other half turned around and confirmed the same thing. No, this individual had never told anybody about the dream. So they started laying out the dream, and they got to a certain point and went, you know, that's pretty much, that's the way I remember. They got, well, corrections. We'll try that again. Remember that thing about this being live? Okay. They told me about the dream and got partway through it, explained a given sequence, and I ended up turning around and I went, "Yeah." And you were wearing this color dress. This is what was happening, right? Well, their other half was sitting in the background and almost fell off the chair by the sound of it. because I started relaying the rest of what her dream had been. Okay, turned around, started relaying what the rest of their dream had been, and their other half turned around and goes, "What did you say?" I said, so I repeated what I'd said, and they went, "There is no way you could have known that unless you were there." So we talked for a little while longer, and that individual started me looking at a very specific at very specific events that had happened over the last number of years, because they identified me very directly by name about a specific event. Okay, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and stick my foot in my mouth. And no, even if I'm asked, I'm not about to tell you the name that I was identified as. Okay, it's just not going to happen. But I got looking into it, and the same thing had happened multiple times in the past with various individuals from various walks of life looking at me, going and telling me they had remembered me from that same time frame, that same life, that same person. Okay, even in many cases, that same name, just different circumstances. Okay, and when I laid it out, now understand the woman that I'm referring to, they turned around, and they're not from the same walk of life that I come from by any functional stretch. When they laid it all out, they were very clear about it. Okay. But it got me thinking. I went and talked to somebody about this sequence of events, and they turned around and said, look, you've got enough circumstantial evidence. Because my question was, here's all the facts. I don't need to know if they're right or wrong. I just need to know, what do I do with the information? Okay. And they looked at it and went, okay, you're dealing with past life memories, and you have enough circumstantial evidence to have somebody convicted for murdering somebody that died 100 years before the accused was born. And they said, well, I said, what do you do with it? And they turned around and said, well, that's easy. What you do is take it as though it's happening. Take it as though it's real. Okay. But keep an eye open for that one piece of information that may derail the whole 9 yards, because it may or may not exist. Well, I got looking into it, and it kept happening more and more. Then on my father's deathbed, he confirmed the memories. So this one specific individual, as it turned out, and I owe them a very, very, very big thank you. Because as it turned out, the interaction with them led to a reunion with another individual from another past life from much earlier than this one. Okay. In a situation that was absolutely bizarre. Okay, and that particular the secondary lifetime was my time in Atlantis. Now understand, I'd already been told by somebody else years before about they had already confirmed my life in Atlantis in a very specific fashion. And this new individual turned around and identified me in exactly the same place. Okay, so to those two individuals, I owe a very, very big thank you. Okay. Am I going to tell anybody by name who they are? Absolutely not. But I will say that I do owe them a very big thank you. It cleared up a whole lot of things for me. Now, moving forward a little, there was another gentleman that I'm absolutely certain most of you know. Okay, many of you know anyway. And that is the owner and operator of Forest Moon Paranormal. Okay, a gentleman by the name of Eric Cooper. Okay, who was running Fourth Moon Paranormal and ran a UFO conference for a number of years, to which I've been invited a number of times. Okay, and gone down and talked about my experiences with the UFO situation and, situations with abductions and what have you. Again, they made a very big impact, opened a very big door. Okay, and again, do I owe them a big thank you? The answer is absolutely yes. Now there are way too many people for me to individually list them. Okay, there are a couple of young people that I personally met on the east coast of the states that provided me with a staggering open door. They opened they opened their home to me. Okay, invited me to come out to a conference at the Experiencer Speak conference over in the eastern states. Okay, and again, I met a lot of great people, many of whom I've lost contact with. Okay, and this is why I say, because of the fact I've reached out to a number of people over the years. Okay, I've reached out to a number of people since things happened. And most of the time when I do reach out, when I just say, how are things going? I quite literally I don't get a response. And that's okay. What I finally got through my head was not to worry about it. But to that end, when people reach out and approach me, I do my best to return the contact. There's a couple of people I've got to contact tonight that have reached out. Okay. But like I said, I lost today. They contacted me yesterday or the day before, and my life gets a little hectic. So as soon as I'm done with this video, I will be turning around and reaching out to them, answering a few questions people have asked. Now, regarding the questions, I'd love to hear your comments below. Okay, below this video. Okay, if you've got a question for me that is a little more private that you don't desire the entire world to know about, okay, look at one of the contact points below this video. There's a lot of different ways of getting a hold of me through LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, email. Okay, contact me. I will do my best to get back to you. Okay, now to that end, okay, it really boils down to an issue of I'll do my best. And rest assured, as I said, I do not tell people on the whole, especially if you come to me with a situation. I had one young individual contact me about something they had seen. As it turned out, what they had seen was an earth elemental. Okay, something that very few people actually bear witness to, or at least very few people talk about. It's like the other thing that another individual pointed out, and apparently they'd been running into all kinds of situations where they thought had been abducted, but every one of the specialists, every one of the alien specialists they talked to, many of which claimed to be experts, none of them could identify it. So I asked a couple of very, very direct questions and pinned down exactly which race that had approached them, why it was that they were likely approaching them. Okay, I get people asking me a lot of questions from personal life to business to spiritual guidelines to alien interaction, psychic phenomenon. You name the topic, I've probably dealt with it, including things on accelerated healing and how to get your health from an energetic standpoint running smoothly. Now, I'm not the one to tell you, here's the best medical path. Not going to happen because, quite frankly, I don't follow modern medicine. Heck, I don't pay attention to my own doctors most of the time. But tonight, when I get done, other than a couple of emails I've got to respond to, I'm going to get back on track here because I don't have a list of topics laid out, which is why I took this couple of days to say thank you to some very important, very special people. Okay. Now, the reality is, you wouldn't know these people by walking down the street in most cases. Many of the people that have helped you over the years probably look like run-of-the-mill people. It's not like I go around hanging out with superstars and, Hollywood specialists. I had, years ago, quite politely, politely put, years ago, I did end up dating a working model. Okay, not from Hollywood, but I did end up dating a working model. In my personal opinion, the individual I'm dating now, much as they are the working model, in my opinion, and it's only my opinion that matters, they could be if they wanted to be. Okay, but hands down, that's the one I'm very much attached to. So, for people that are wondering, well, am I attached? The answer is yeah, I am very much and very happy about it. Okay, are they the best person the best person or the best socially seated or wealthiest person? Not at all. Okay, but they are the best person in my eyes, at least for me. With everything I've told you, can you picture somebody trying to tolerate my life? Okay. UFOs, abductions, psychic phenomenon, a published author, okay, a professional speaker, professional as in, will I go out to an event or will I come on video to a group meeting? Absolutely. Just drop me a line and ask and we'll work it into my schedule. Okay. Or coming onto a radio show to talk about some of what I've been through. Absolutely. Okay. It's entertaining the way I look at it. And I'm going to put this one out for the first time. I've come on shows to talk about the UFO phenomenon, about alien technologies, about that side of things. Okay. Am I willing to talk about things in regards to self-help, to running a business, to that side of it? Certainly. Okay, but here's the one that could throw a loop in there, could throw a kink into things. Because have I talked to people? I used to run a radio show myself. Okay, where I had people on talking about religion. Am I willing to talk about my take on religion? Certainly. Okay, but that could cause some interesting situations. Understand, I'm not here to prove anything to anybody. Well, that's not entirely correct. I'm here to prove to me that I can at least sort of get into the 21st century. Okay, instead of taking the time to write out on a journal what I'm thinking, these vlogs have worked out rather nicely. And something just dawned on me. I understand calling this a vlog. Okay, but they call this a vlog, a video log. So why do they call the other thing a blog? Like, what does the B stand for? I understand the log. Okay, but, and I understand it'd be really hard to call it a log, a W log. But I am curious if there's an extra name that's supposed to go with the term blog, like what the actual name is. Like when you talk about the acronym ASAP, it means as soon as possible. Okay. That's an acronym. When I was growing up, you only ever said it as ASAP. In today's world, and I know in my linguistics, it is just simply now ASAP. It's a new word altogether. Okay. And in acronyms, people tend to run together. Okay, the military's been doing it for years with things like snafu, okay, and FUBAR. And no, I'm not about to tell you what those are, but if you're military, I understand entirely where that comes from. Okay, but there are other things that have come up. Okay, many things that are acronyms that people just call. They say that. They say the acronym as a word just to get things across, as it were. Now, that said, looks like we've run over. I started rambling. Welcome to my life. Anyway, I keep these down to the 30-minute for a reason, or about that. With that in mind, I'm going to call and bring this to a close. I will be back again tomorrow. Okay, until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.